All right, welcome back to Blue by the Numbers for the first time in 2025. I want to give a big thanks to our title sponsor, Feldman Chevrolet of Highland, as well as Woodson Whiskey. Both of those companies had some goodies at our tailgate in week one, had a nice Silverado on hand, a couple drinks, Brian. I might have to start talking to the sales guys. That was whiskey, the Maizen Blitz, cinnamon whiskey. A lot of these cinnamon whiskeys are maybe 30%. No, this is 40%. ABV and
giddy up.
Pretty good, man. Brian, how have you been? It's been a minute. Been a lot of things that have happened since the last time we spoke on a podcast kind of forum like this, and football's back.
Football's back, man. Excited to talk about it. So fun. It's always fun to have the team back, but it's really exciting this year to have, after last year with abysmal quarterback play, to have such a star quarterback and the new scheme and a lot of new guys contributing. So excited to talk about it, man. Excited for the season.
Yeah, I know Justin and I have had conversations on this on our Blue by 90 podcast around our expectations for Bryce. I listen to a lot of Michigan football related podcasts, and a lot of folks that I respect in terms of their kind of football acumen and what they see. And I've seen some kind of folks that were maybe a little unsure, and now it's like, yep, let's go, giddy up, right? To your point. Yeah. So coming in, I wasn't sure what to expect from Bryce Underwood, and I was slightly optimistic, but man, just from the first play, I know it's a little bubble screen on an orbit motion from Samaj Morgan, but ball gets there, gets to the hands, lets the receiver get upfield, gets 12 yards, and you're just like, okay, what else has he got in the tool bag?
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine if he didn't exceed your expectations as a fan. I don't know what your expectations were. I mean, I just thought he just looked so poised. He had the whole playbook there. And I don't know if they're right, a half dozen texts within the first series. Like, man, this guy throws lasers and just cannon of an arm, all those types of comments. I mean, he's just a special guy, and from a talent standpoint, we have to see if he can put it all together for us. But man, so fun.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of, I think, people that have seen a big arm. It's like, all right, you can throw lasers. And even during the game, like, hey, you can throw a piss missile, right? You got a couple throws on the 3rd and 14 in the 2-minute drill. He's got the throw across his body to Kendrick Bell for a big gain. But then you see the layering of the football. Can you get it over defenders? Can you drop it in a bucket? Does that to Marlon Klein. That was right before the dart to Kendrick Bell in that drive.
Well, coming out of your end zone too, like that. When you watch that play, the replay of that. I mean, he had used the word feather, which I love that. I mean, both those guys had a play on the ball. He just perfect touch under that situation. I thought was so special and just a glimpse of what's to come.
Yeah, and the throw to Kendrick Bell, I think, I want to, because we're going to kind of digest, I think, because I've got some thoughts. The throw to Kendrick Bell, he gets some pressure from his right side, but does what a veteran quarterback would do, steps up, slides out a little bit, and that poor number 7, I believe, for New Mexico.
It was. Yeah.
I don't know if you watched. I think you sent
7 killed us on offense, but not on defense.
No, not on defense.
Yeah.
But Brooks Austin does, he's got a YouTube channel where they just kind of digest film and watch that. And he made a comment. Yeah, I really enjoyed watching his breakdown of Michigan with Bryce Underwood and then Oklahoma with John Mateer as well. But, he made the comment, he's like, number 7 has no idea anybody on earth can make this throw. I mean, he throws it on a dime, lets the receiver get upfield. There's a lot of yards after catch in this game, similar to that 3rd and 14 on that dig route to Channing Goodwin that he just puts on a rope, man. Like, there's more to be seen, but for a first time, just turned 18 years old, true freshman quarterback with all the hype, all the weight of expectations on his shoulders just came out. He's having fun, smiling, tongues out, celebrating, throwing blocks. Like, I could not have been more impressed with what I saw on Saturday from Bryce Underwood.
They showed him on the sidelines before the kick and right before they took the field, and he was jumping up and down like crazy. He was so much energy, and that made me nervous. Like, I really wasn't nervous, but you see these guys get overhyped and they come in and throw it 40 yards over some guy's head or throw it to a defender. And he came in and just, no problem, let's get to business. And the reality is his stat line was very impressive, no matter how you look at it. And he had There's always drops, but he had 3 or 4 really bad drops. He goes over 300 easy without those drops, And
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about here, not tough drops. So, yeah, I thought he put the ball in the right place. The one incompletion had to climb, like he was trying to shield him from the defender. He missed that by 6 inches. I mean, he was really impressive. And one game we've seen some quarterbacks in our time as Michigan fans look really good for a game and get our hopes high. None of them had the ceiling and none of them had the traits that Bryce had. But let's see it for a few more games. But the early returns are so great, so great.
Yeah. I mean, I think about Fred Moore had a drop right in the breadbasket. I mean, that was a really impressive throw from Bryce. He's rolling to his left. He's a right-handed quarterback, gets a shoulder square, fires it in there. Fred Moore drops it. He has the seam shot in the first drive to Channing Goodwin because they went cover 3.
Right.
And so he turned his eyes to that seam route and just maybe a little excited to your point. But I love the idea, taking a shot on a play like that. And he throws it so hard that, hey, nobody on the defense is going to catch it. I mean, the guys on Michigan's offense sometimes still were surprised by the ball. But yeah, to your point, the Marlon Klein, there was a third down where it hit him in the hands. I think as the season goes on, these guys will maybe, know to expect how fast of a ball he's going to be throwing in there.
Yeah. They have nerves too. I mean, most of the guys that played last night, a lot of the guys that played, particularly on offense, haven't seen the field that much and haven't seen the field for Michigan. I mean, other than Samaj Morgan, really, most of the guys contributing on offense in the skill positions are all new to the team, new to the scheme, new to having playing time. So a lot of nerves there to dust off.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'd like to talk about with Bryce Underwood because it's a lot of fun to think about the future. And just in game 1, this is a guy that you're going to get, hopefully 45-ish starts out of in his college career, and he's the NFL number 1 pick. I mean, that's right. To your point, like the physical talent. He's the most talented quarterback that's come through Michigan, I think, already. Like you can just see it. Just how mature he looks too. He's in command of the offense, right? We watched the spring game. I was at the spring game. Couple of delay games early on. You're a little panicking. You're like, all right, Mikey Keene, what's going on with him? And just none of that in this game. I mean, was in control of the offense. I think there was one where he didn't let his motioning receiver get set for a second, which caused a penalty. But otherwise, and I'll be honest, Brian, I think this is probably a kid that, makes a mistake once, rarely twice, and then it's gone, right? So he's going to learn from that. But, man, you talk about being excited and hopeful for the next 3 years. I mean, I always thought year 2, year 3 of his tenure was going to be the time to go and make a run at it, and that's still true. But if he's going to be like this, where, again, New Mexico, you want to talk about the opponent, fine, but a lot of these throws, their opponent, regardless of the opponent, they're just piss missiles. So that maybe changes the dynamic of 2025 for Michigan and what they can accomplish.
100%. I think the other thing that if anyone was paying attention, Chip Lindsey is just a great addition to the staff. I mean, I loved the scheme that he put together with him. He didn't give him time to think. They played with so much tempo, get up the line of scrimmage and go. Didn't ask him to make a bunch of pre-snap reads. Like, let's just go and have a plan. If your first option's not there, bringing back we saw tight end screens. We saw wide receiver screens. We saw the bubble screen, bringing that back to give him confidence. And even on those, he throws right in the numbers, little missiles. How many times do you see watching college football, not so much the NFL, but college football, where that pass is so bad that it's blown up before it even gets started? He just throws a missile so those guys can react and make some plays. So I just love the scheme, and then kind of just the concepts that he has him operating on, so he doesn't have to think a lot and dwell and overthink. I think, any of us that start something new, you can overthink things. And with a special athlete like that, just let his athleticism and his natural instincts and everything you've taught him so far take over. And that we saw that happen. And I think he's just a great fit. They seem to be a good pair.
Yeah, no, I was impressed with Chip Lindsey. I thought he was very complimentary of the run game with Bryce, knowing that, Bryce didn't run, had no designed runs. He scrambled to throw. On Saturday night. But I think the thing that you watch Bryce and we've made, because he is the most recent NFL level quarterback to come out of the University of Michigan, is JJ McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the way JJ would get the ball out so quickly, I think Bryce, his release might be quicker, and the ball might get there quicker, like on these outs, these hitches, these curls. Yeah, and JJ, he's not he had a strong arm, right? He's got a strong arm. That's why he's a starter with
not top 10 pick without it. Yep, right.
Exactly. So yeah, man, very exciting. Let's his receivers get the ball and make a move and go get some extra yardage.
I mean, I don't know what your opinion is, but I kind of see him as somewhere. He's not Denard Robinson in terms of, I don't think we'll ever see that again, but somewhere between him and Devin Gardner in terms of athletic, and they didn't bring that at all. I have to imagine versus better opponents like Oklahoma, you're going to see 6, 7, 8 designed runs, and we haven't seen that yet because he didn't. I mean, he didn't even try to run. I mean, he clearly had a gag order on running the ball. Like, hey,
not on blocking though.
Yeah, no, not on blocking. Yeah, that was awesome. I mean,
hey man, football player, right? Earn the respect to your teammates. I think it was TJ Guy that said he was fired up when he saw that one of the pressers today.
How could you not be fired up about that? That
was it's a pretty expensive right arm.
Football sense, you're like, come on,
absolutely.
But just in terms of being a football guy and a guy that loves the game, I mean, that was cool to see. Well, and it was like a form block too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm sure Bryce will come up again in this podcast. But the last thing that I'll say right now, that film review I watched, definitely go check it out. Brooks Austin, he's a Georgia guy, but he does a good job. I've not always loved his takes on Twitter, especially during Signgate, if I remember right. But did a good job breaking it down. He said that Bryce Underwood has the physical attributes of Cam Newton with the arm of CJ Stroud. And he said he was trying not to be hyperbolic. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, his breakdown was pretty good.
Very exciting. Another guy made his debut Saturday. Justice Haynes, Alabama transfer. Played 2 years at Alabama and, just ho-hum, 160 yards, almost 10 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns, 2 50-plus yarders. I think Michigan all of last year did they have 2 50-plus rushes in the season?
I don't know.
Maybe I think it was 4.
Last we were last in the country in explosive plays, but so we didn't have a lot of big plays, run, pass, however you want to shake it. We lacked in that department.
Yeah, it was not great. And just to see, and we'll talk about the offensive line, and we're going to kind of work our way through. I think we want to spend the most time on Bryce just because. Right. But I think when you look at the run game, it most reminded me of 2023, where I think people were concerned in 2023. And again, they don't have Zinter or Keegan on this line. But I think people were a little concerned because Michigan would get these breakaway runs, and then it might be 3, 2, 4, maybe a 6-yard run in there. And that kind of was what it was Saturday night. But those explosives still count. You can't take them away as much as people like to do. Well, if you take away the explosives, their yard per carry was 2.7. Don't care, man. 100-plus yards on 2 carries. That's still part of what happened on the game on Saturday night. So what was your thoughts on Haynes? And then, Jordan Marshall coming back after a big kind of breakout performance in the ReliaQuest Bowl. I felt like Marshall, kind of got the yards that were there. I don't think he, I didn't see anything where I'm like, oh my gosh, where are you going? I just don't think that it was, a lot of opportunity for him to run. So what are your thoughts on the 2 running backs?
Well, I think they did, with a hot-handed approach. And I think you want to see variations of that. I think I think Marshall's going to be fine. He's going to have some huge games. Haynes exceeded my expectations. I had no idea he was that fast. I mean, as good as Corum was, you never really saw him, or very rarely saw him, break away. And he'd get to the outside, and someone would inevitably chase him down if the run was long enough. And Haynes was really fast. I thought the run game was really solid, but not great. I think they used Marshall between, up the middle. What was it? 190 of their 207 yards were to the outside, right? So when Michigan's at its best, when that smash mouth culture, that was one thing that I was disappointed in against an opponent like New Mexico, that they couldn't just line up and run it in between the center and guards and run it down their throat for 4 or 5 yards. They couldn't do that. And so, and that's a concern. 1, 2, those were the carries that Marshall was getting. So they just weren't effective in opening up holes in that center run scheme, and everything, all the big explosives really, even though Marshall's long for his first touchdown was, right off the guard and in between the tackle, and then he kicked it out. Everything was kind of to the sidelines that had success. So they got to sort that out, and I think they will. But we need to be able to, when we're at our best, we're going to line up, we're coming right at you, and we're going to get 4 or 5 yards, and that just wasn't there on Saturday.
Yeah. Counterpoint, I think the yardage they put up was about what 450-ish?
Yeah.
I would venture to say that's probably more than any game last year.
Oh,
maybe the Northwestern game. I don't remember that. I was there. I don't remember the yardage. Just remember, it was like 50-6 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But so maybe that game. But otherwise, that's the best offense I've seen for Michigan in a year.
No doubt.
Right? And so there's things to clean up, but there's a baseline there to be able to improve and to see this offense grow, especially as more is put on Bryce Underwood's plate, allowing him to kind of ease into things, and maybe that's going to open things up, right? We didn't really see many deep shots as well. So,
I think one thing that's going to soften up that middle is when Bryce keeps a couple of those.
Absolutely. They were wide open, by the way.
They were wide open. And so he hits a few of those, and all of a sudden that linebacker and safety that are pinching down are peeking to the outside because he's burned them for a couple times. And I think that was intentional, right? Like knowing they're going to need that versus Oklahoma. So that's why I say there's room for optimism because he's going to hit on those. And unlike Orji that just always ran into wherever the trouble was, I think he's such an athlete and such a smart football player that he's going to hit some big runs. And that's what I'm excited to see. And I think the more success he has with that, the more it's going to soften up the middle of the defenses that are loaded up in that box to stop our run game. So there's reason for optimism.
Absolutely. I know he's a tight end H-back, but I'm going to lump him with the running backs. I thought Max Bredesen was an absolute beast. He sprung that first touchdown. He blocked 2 guys, essentially.
Follow Max, yeah.
Yes, sure. And Justice Haynes did a great job of kind of cutting that out, and that safety had nowhere to go on that first touchdown run. So Bredesen, he had a catch in one of their first 2 touchdown drives, and we know what we're gonna get from Bredy. He's a monster. He's a friend of the program, friend of Blue Bay 90, and
he's my favorite guy on that team, man. I love him.
Yeah, hard not to love him. So, and then I'll group in Marlon Klein with the receivers. So, what were your thoughts on the receiving room? I mean, Donovan McCulley coming in, Shannon Goodwin kind of first real game action. And then Samaj, I thought, after last year, I don't know how much of that I put on him necessarily. Do you remember after the USC game, real quick, Samaj runs a seam route and is like just wide open, just screaming for the ball. Now, I don't know if those safeties are going to be that close to the line of scrimmage with Bryce Underwood playing quarterback, but last year it was tough to tell if that was Samaj or the offense. Probably a little bit of both, but I do think Samaj is a really explosive athlete. So those are kind of the top 3 guys in the receiving room. And then obviously Marlon Klein, I mentioned earlier, had a fantastic game. Looked like Colson Loveland out there.
He did. A couple of things is in the circles that I run in, most of the people that I talk to were so down on Samaj Morgan, just in all the different ways that we talk about, discourse about Michigan football. So many guys were down on Samaj. I think he was a victim of horrible quarterback play. He appears, at least with early returns, to be sort of a perfect fit for all the screen game that Chip wants to run. So I think he's going to have a really big year. Wouldn't surprise me to see him lead the team in receptions. I think one of the bigger surprises out of camp was, at least to me, was Channing Goodwin beating out Frederick Moore for that number 2 spot. And I mean, that seems obvious. I mean, we already mentioned the bad drop that Frederick Moore had, and Goodwin looked the part. Goodwin had 2 drops himself, but I mean, he looked, he was open, running open a lot. I mean, how many times in the last year did we talk about watching the games and not seeing receivers run open? There were guys open, and he went in other directions, but all in all, I think McCulley's going to have some big plays, and he seems to be fitting right in. I think Andrew Marsh is going to be a star. He just looks fast coming off the line. Marlon Klein, I think there's so much to be excited about, and what's even more exciting about him is if you watch the tape, and anyone that's listening to this watch it, he did a lot of the stuff, a lot of his big plays from that inline tight end position, which isn't the role really that Colson Loveland played. He's kind of playing the same spot he was playing a lot of last year and just having success there. One of the guys that got spoken about most during camp was Hogan Hansen, who didn't play. I think he's going to be back this week against Oklahoma.
I read that as well.
Right, and they're super fired up about him, and he's going to be playing the role of Colson Loveland, which I don't think will diminish Marlon Klein's targets or anything. It's the role they play within the scheme. And so that's something to really be excited about. So you run some snaps with Samaj Morgan, quick twitchy guy in the slot, and then the next snap the defense has to adjust having Hogan Hansen. I think it's like 6'5".
Yeah,
and super fast, super athletic, and they're super excited about him. That's 3 supers, but I think there's a lot of excitement there. I think we're still a little bit away from having the types of weapons we want to have on the edges and the outside with a talent like Bryce, if we're being honest. But I think it looks much improved over last year, and I think the scheme that Chip Lindsey has will take advantage of all those unique skill sets.
Well, don't you think, depending on what Bryce does this year, but I feel pretty confident he's going to have a really good year after watching week 1. Those receivers might be willing to come to Michigan now.
Well, they're the 26 class. They have studs at wide receiver.
Yeah, so, and maybe some guys in the portal that are, plug and play.
That too, yeah. That too.
Yeah, so, and, your point on Marlon Klein playing more inline, he might be a little more like A.J. Barner, but just more athletic, which A.J. Barner's been really good with the Seahawks. He had a great year for Michigan.
That's a really good comparison. I hadn't thought of that, but that's a really good comparison. And playing a similar role, right?
Yeah, and he's a good blocker. I don't know if he's as good of a blocker as Barner. I don't know, man. I don't sit there and I don't watch some of these folks that are out in the Michigan world that and credit to them because I read it all, but they're really digested. Playing football, my least favorite thing, and obviously this is what you got to do, but rewind. I'm not that guy. Right. What were your thoughts on the OL?
I thought, moving Gio back over to the left side, they looked more comfortable there.
Yeah.
The pass protection I thought was great. I mean, you watch the replays. He had a nice pocket. I think I already mentioned. I think they need to tighten up that run game, and I think they'll be helped by the running scheme. But they were better. I don't think they were. I saw a clip yesterday that the Joe Moore Award folks posted a few clips of the line and mentioned that they're already on the watch list, that they were doing some things that caught their eye. They don't just do that for fun. I don't remember that happening once last year. So they rotated guys. I guess Sprague got hurt a little bit early, didn't play a ton of snaps. They rotated Norton and Afobe a lot. I thought Norton looked really good. So I think with continuity, they're going to get better. Much improved from last year. You had said it earlier. We don't have Zinter, we don't have Keegan on this line, but I think it can be effective. And I think with Chip's scheme of moving things around and the quick play action, they'll find their roles and their timing. And I'm optimistic, Yeah,
I thought, there was no really kind of standing out for me like, oh my God, like last year, or it was like every week, it was like, oh man, there's just in the backfield in a split second, right? Right. I didn't see that. I thought, the pass pro was really good. There were a couple of times, and you know what? Hey, part of pass pro is your quarterback helping you out, right? Definitely. You're not going to be perfect. You could say it's New Mexico, but we talked about this, Justin and I. These guys that transferred in to follow Jason Eck, who was the head coach at Idaho, that hung with Oregon last year, the undefeated Big Ten champs, they're all at New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And that, I'll tell you what, FCS football, man, is legit. Like those top 10 FCS schools probably would be fringe top 25 teams in the FBS. I think they're a lot better than the lower level FBS schools, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. And, look, it's still New Mexico, but they got some guys on that team. They had a Nebraska transfer at linebacker who had like 80 tackles last year. So they had some players, and I think there were a lot of Michigan fans who maybe didn't love Jason Eck calling a timeout with 3 seconds left and all that. But I actually, over the course of the week, I kind of came to really appreciate him as a football coach. And his son's the starting linebacker and kind of the quarterback of the defense, played at Idaho under him. Just hearing more and more about him really was like appreciative of him. He's trying to they're playing in the big house, right? And he wants his guys to have an opportunity to say, hey, I scored a touchdown against the Michigan Wolverines when I was in college, right? So all that stuff, but he's a good football coach. Yeah. Idaho has been a good FCS program under him and previously. So I think all in all, I was pretty impressed with the O-line. I feel good about where things are. I don't, it's not the 2022 line with Olu and those guys, right? But I do think it's going to be serviceable. And I think just, having Bryson, we'll see what he's able to do as, again, more of the offense is opened up to him to kind of, force the defense to maybe not stack the box like they did last year. We'll see if that opens things up for them.
Yeah, 3 things about and New Mexico. one, coming from Idaho, if you're watching this, check out what Idaho's uniforms this week. They are sweet. They're rolling out some special uniforms. They're sick. Two, their punter posted a video of the team like rolling into Ann Arbor and seeing the facilities and go on the field and seeing it from his perspective. And it was a very humble approach of just how amazing it was for teams like New Mexico to come play in the big house. And that's not just the big house. Go play Ohio State, Penn State, these lower level schools and get an opportunity to go play in front of 100,000 fans. It was just really cool to see. And then the third point being, it's New Mexico and we have Oklahoma in the biggest game in the country this Saturday. How much would people will talk about the opponent. Well, two things come with an opponent when they're the week before a huge game like we have this week. One, guys looking ahead, coaches looking ahead, Sharon looking ahead to his alma mater. Two, us holding back, our playbook, like we already talked about. Bryce didn't run. They brought a bunch of. We'll get the defense in a minute. They brought a bunch of pressure early, and then after that, they kind of went vanilla. And then these guys trying to play up for the game of their life. So I think there's a lot of things in play when people want to diminish playing well against a lesser opponent. I
saw a lot of that on Twitter. I tell you what, little side tangent here. Every time I look at Twitter, and I don't necessarily need to be on it, but got social media aspect of Blue by 90 and want to be in the know. And man, I get dumber every time I look at it, Brian. It is astounding. And it's not just rival fans. It's Michigan fans. It's Ohio State fans. It's Michigan State fans. Like, man, especially, the older I get, like, it amazes me how seriously some people take social media. Yeah. So a lot of that going around in terms of, it's just, 34-17 against New Mexico. Yeah. I guarantee you didn't watch the game. Saw the box score.
There's so much that I got invited to a stream last night for Oklahoma fans. I'm just a silent observer, and my IQ is on life support after listening to those guys. So their perceptions about Michigan football. Is Oklahoma a better team, better program? Have that argument all you want, but just some of their takes, like they knew anything about Michigan football, was just like, why would anybody listen to this?
That's why I'm not going to talk that. Like, I don't know Oklahoma like that. I don't have the time to go and watch their last year's games and watch Mateer. And I know he's pretty solid quarterback. I know struggled with Power 4 teams last year.
Mm-hmm.
That's about all I know. I know they got Jade Knott from Cal, who was a stud in 23, hurt last year, hurt this year. I don't know much more than that. I know Brent Venables a heck of a coach, a heck of a guy, and it's going to be a
heck of a coach, but a heck of a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jury's out for him as a head coach, but he's going to bring it. Yeah,
defensive.
I know. Yeah.
Speaking of defense, I know there was a lot of hand wringing on social media. Once again, I wasn't that concerned. There was a field goal from your boy Andrew Marsh. Got to get that ball a little high and tight. I'm with you though. He's gonna be a stud. Got to look for the ball too on that whole shot from Bryce, but. Gave up a field goal. Did a great job getting a stop because it was 3 and out basically at the end of the field goal. I don't know what you would consider that. And then, that their last touchdown drive, the Barham targeting, don't know what we're doing there. We can talk about that if you want. You have some thoughts.
I think there's not a Michigan fan alive that doesn't think that's BS, right? Like, he's a 6'3" guy tackling a 6-foot tall quarterback. Like, what's he supposed to do? There's not a launch point there. I said I didn't want to talk about it. I'm talking about it, because it was just so obvious. But you could see how someone would say their helmets do come together. But to me, it's about intent, right? He wasn't launching it. He was coming in. He tried to.
If you want to give a 15-yarder with no ejection, sure.
Yeah, that's not, right, 100%. Because of the
take
intent.
A kid out for not just that game, but the first half of the second game. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
To me,
it's just
the
so inconsistent.
Plays a big role. Like,
100%.
15 yards if you think it's a helmet-to-helmet hit, but it was clearly there wasn't a launch point at him. But the defense as a whole, like, I love how aggressive they are. I feel like I've been trying to think, and I've been a Michigan fan for a long time. I can't remember a team that we've had that has as many just athletic specimen studs. You know what I mean? Like, that may sound weird, but you know what I mean? Like, guys that want to bring it. Like, we've had a lot of thumpers over the years, but I mean, you look at all levels of this defense, guys, our linebacking core, the first unit, the second unit, the third unit, all bring it. Our safeties, we've had some hard-hitting safeties, but not a duo like these two. We'll see how they are in coverage against Oklahoma this week, but I have concerns there. But just in terms of being an intimidating team, we very aggressive. And then before we get into individual positions, they gave up all their yards on 2 drives. They count, right? It doesn't matter where the points come from, where the yards come, they count. But they had 2 really good drives that were helped by some penalties. They had a dropped ball that was an incomplete pass, and they got up to the line. Shame on Sharon Moore and his team for not being like timeout. When they saw that happening.
Well, to be fair, they got up to the line quick. I don't even know.
But he's got to have someone on the sidelines or in the booth saying, "Call timeout, call timeout, call timeout." You know what I mean? Like we were all seeing that on TV in the 3-4 second delay. When you're watching that live on TV, you're like, let's go. Someone's got to call down. There's got to be a panic button there.
Yeah.
To me, because that drive's over. That drive's over.
Yeah. No,
instead it went down and got points. So, but yeah, I mean, again, I don't think the defense very aggressive, lot to like, but there's some, I thought our linebackers are as good as we've been. I think our defensive tackles are not the same, but I think as a group, we played 5 guys on the interior. All 5 of them played 30 snaps. All of them were credited with a pressure. So, like, deep group. I don't think they'll play that many against Oklahoma. I just don't. They're going to tighten. They'll watch tape and who practices well, and they'll tighten up all the position groups of who gets snaps. But I think there's some positives there. And I thought Damon Payne, everyone was talking about Benny.
Very pleasant surprise.
Damon Payne was a wrecking ball. So weird seeing a guy at 44 at his size to me. I don't know about you.
Kind of like it.
I do too.
Digging it, yeah.
We see guys that big playing with 1 and 0, but 44 is like a traditional linebacker.
That's only 1 digit off from 55, right?
Right. That's true. That's a good point. But it just looked odd, and he had a great game. I don't think anyone was expecting of the returning players and the new guys. I don't think that's who people were expecting. And the other guy I thought that was most impressive, maybe not the most impressive, maybe that's hyperbole a little bit, but the most surprisingly impressive was Inaueta. He had a great game. I felt like when he was in there, and they spread the snaps out. The 5 guys all played the same amount of snaps. The most had 36, the least had 30. I mean, they were all the same. And Etta was everywhere. I felt like he was around the ball a lot. And so that was real promising. So,
a lot of the young guys played well. I mean, Dom Nichols had a sack. Nate Marshall is going to be a dog.
He's going to play.
Yeah, Etta looked really good. Damon Payne again was a very nice surprise. I saw the I don't remember the exact quote, but it was defensive line coach Lou Esposito talking about how they were watching Alabama film, and he's like, "Man, you look a little bit different." And Damon's like, "Yeah, we run a lot more here." So that's nice to hear. But he looked good, man.
He did, dude.
He was getting pushed back on that goal line, almost stand in the third quarter. Or was it late third quarter? I liked what I saw from Trey Pierce. You know what you're going to get from Rayshon Benny. I don't remember seeing much of Trey Williams' name, but he's kind of feels like more of a space, kind of space eater kind of guy.
I agree. I don't remember seeing like him making huge impacts, but he's that guy that kind of makes the guy. I think if you don't see him and you see other guys flashing, that's his job to just free things up for the guys around him. So I thought the compelling thing to me about the edge was, at least for me, I don't know how other Michigan fans felt or how you felt, but I was really excited about TJ Guy and Derek Moore. But the guys that flashed were Dom Nichols. Cam Brandt was the best guy on the line. He was everywhere. Nate Marshall.
He played his tail off.
Nate Marshall is as exciting, other than Bryce, as exciting of a freshman player on this roster. That guy is going to be good. And we have a few of them, but he's going to be
some more coming, by the way.
Yeah, and some more coming.
Carter Meadows. I mean, he's kind of the same profile as Marshall. They've been just recruiting their ass off up front. And it shows, right? In the portal and in high school. And these guys are getting experience, and excited to see these younger guys. I've been excited about Trey Pierce since he flipped. I think he was a Wisconsin commit back in the day, flipped to Michigan.
Late,
very
right?
excited about him. Etta was, I think, the highest ranked guy in the 2023 class, which hasn't really panned out. So it'd be great for him to hit.
He came in undersized. Etta came in like
kind of a tweener, right? Not sure he's gonna be an edge or a DT or 5 tech.
That's exactly right.
I was. I thought the defensive line played well. TJ Guy had a pretty nice kind of acrobatic catch on that interesting deflection off the
ground. Yeah, that play was awesome. Yeah, that's an all-timer.
Would have loved to have punched it in from there, but we're done talking about the offense. So linebackers though. I mean, We've already talked about Jay Sean. He was a beast all game until he was out of there.
Yeah.
Houseman was more in
He's
coverage.
a missile, man.
Yeah. He's. I mean, get him Saturday night, a little bit later in the evening is what we'll say.
Yeah.
Houseman was kind of Houseman. I didn't notice anything super positive, super negative.
He's a tackling machine. He's all over the place, sideline to sideline. He's everywhere. Yeah.
I did see him get juked once in zone on a catch, but
coverage in the middle is scary. Like I think up the middle, I think Barham and Houseman are both great against the run. But a team that can throw in the slot, our safeties I think are thumpers. I'm curious to see how they're going to hold up to a team that's going to throw it 40 times a game. There's some concerns there, but I think the brightest light in the linebacker room easily. And Chase Taylor played snaps, played good. Troy Bowles had two tackles for losses.
Yeah.
But Cole Sullivan, man, that guy's going to be a player. What was his stat line? He played 15 snaps. He had 5 tackles, 2 stops, 1 quarterback pressure, 1 sack, and interception. That's a stat line. 15 snaps. That's a stat line. So
How about Jimmy Rolder, by the way? He blew up the screen. You just talk about, the pass coverage. Him and Bowles might be 2 of the better. And, Sullivan had the pick, but I didn't see a ton, from Cole in the pass game.
15 snaps, so you didn't see a lot of them at all, yeah.
But Rolder, I thought, looked as good as he's looked at Michigan. I've always thought,
definitely.
Coming out of high school, I remember watching high school film, I'm like, he kind of came out of nowhere on Michigan's radar, too. Like, Illinois offered him. He was an Illinois baseball commit, I want to say, back in the day, or another sport committed to the Illini.
Yeah.
And, Michigan comes in, offers him, and I'm watching this film. I'm like, this dude should be top 100. Mm-hmm. He ended up right around there, I think. Yeah. But he's just been, hit with injury bug, right? But, man, he blew up that screen. He looked quick. And so did Troy Bowles. Troy Bowles, he looks like the speed. He's got the speed of like a nickel. Like, it was kind of crazy.
Like I said, I think we're as athletic. We'll see how sound they are, how technically they are, how well they handle all the responsibilities. But just in terms of sheer athleticism, I'm struggling to think of a year where we had better athletes all around the field than we have right now. And that's exciting. They're fast. They want to bring it. We'll see how they cover up and, how they handle themselves in coverage. And, Matier's going to throw it all over the place. Or at least try to this week.
Yeah, well, the secondary now, I think the guy that just kind of stuck out the most to me was TJ Metcalf. I mean, he's physical. He's fast. We had him on our podcast a month or 2 ago. He had a really solid career at Arkansas. He had a game with like 2 picks and a fumble against Auburn last year. He's a ball player. His first cousin's DK Metcalf, right? And so his younger brother's on the team as well, Tevis, and Tevis a little bit younger, but I'm sure going to be a good ball player. But, man, I was impressed. He was in the backfield on some of those goal line stands. He was around the ball every single play, it felt like. And, man, is he fast. Like, he gets there in a hurry. And he delivered a little bit of a big hit, too. I mean, this guy is very, very excited about TJ Metcalf.
I think we all wanted to see Mikey replacement in that position, right? And it's yet to be seen. Mikey was he's playing outside corner now in the NFL at times. So good in coverage. We'll see how he does in that. But I don't see Metcalf as Mikey. I see him a lot like Peppers. He's all over the place and he's bringing it. It's one game, and so we'll see how that comparison stacks up over time. But he was one of the more impactful players. I'm fairly confident. I'm gonna go real quick. Yeah, he led the defense in snaps. Him and Jair Hill led the team in snaps. So he was out there a lot with a lot of responsibility. They're going to keep stacking it on him. And, I think the secondary, I mean, Hillman just always thumps guys. Curtis.
Yeah.
The biggest disappointment to me, other than, we rotated a lot of guys and guys just, we had some guys running open, was Shamari Earls. Like, I was so excited to see him. He probably plays 30 snaps last year.
Yeah, didn't he? Is that I saw
it's true? Yes, it's true.
They hurt his.
For those that don't know, in the pregame he did a flip and didn't land it, so he wanted to do it again. The second time he landed it and hurt himself. So I think he's fine, but just enough to hold him out of the game. So
right, and those are valuable reps
for sure. Jaden Sanders, who's another freshman that they're high on, played 25 snaps. And they spread out. If Earls is out there, they love him. He plays like 30, 32 snaps. Those are valuable snaps that he missed. And, he's got a long, really good career. I think he's special, but we just didn't get to see it. So I'm so disappointed because he's good.
Would there was a lot of, again, hand wringing. What do you think of Jair? Because I thought outside of a couple of plays, I thought he was really good.
I think he was solid. I think he's that guy that I don't know who there's a good comparison to. Maybe Channing Stribling, that looks really good at snaps and does something that's kind of boneheaded. I think he still has mental lapses. He had that one really bad pass interference play that we've seen a few times from him. I thought he was good, but I think he's still got, if you to be CB1 at a school like Michigan, you need to be really good all the time. You need to be Jordan Lewis. You need to, we've had some really good guys in that position. So the standard is really high, and kind of my expectation that CB1 role is an elite guy that doesn't make some of the mistakes he still makes. I think Zeke Berry's really good.
But yeah, Zeke has been really good since moving to corner. You know what? I will tell you, I just looked it up because I was curious because I knew he's a younger guy. Jair was 19 on Saturday night. He turned 20 on Sunday.
Okay.
So young guy, right? A lot of talent. We know this. And, just some mental lapses here and there. And again, like that pass interference, he had good coverage on that 3rd and goal down towards the south side of the stadium. It was the touchdown a few plays later that he kind of got beat on. But he was in good position. He had good coverage on that PI. And he's just got to learn not to just get too handsy because he's a man-to-man corner. He wants to be physical. He wants to get his hand. They want a hand fight, right?
Indisputable. The talent's there, right?
Yeah. I think Lamar Morgan will get the most out of him. And
I agree.
He's a guy that's got first-round pick potential.
Yeah,
so
because he has all
put
the
it all
traits.
together.
Right.
Yeah, he's long. He's rangy.
He's still young. He's got a lot of football to play still.
Absolutely. I mean, again, just turned 20, right? A couple years older, but kind of the same thing as Bryce in terms of age in his class. So he's a guy that I'm very excited about still. And I think a lot of people were kind of freaking out. And I'm like, it's okay. His first game, a little jitters, and they always say you make the biggest leap from game 1 to game 2, right?
Right.
So excited to see these guys.
The other thing about Wink, I think that's exciting about this group because of all the athleticism is, they've talked about all off season about having that group playing positionless football, right? And if you look, I saw this, I stole this from somebody, but it showed where each of them played. Metcalf played 16 snaps in the box, 7 in a traditional free safety role, and 33 in the slot, moving around. Hillman played a lot of free safety, a little bit in the box, some in the slot. They moved those guys around based on, kind of matchups, and I think that's Wink's kind of vision. Mason Curtis is 6'5", and Hillman's a crazy athlete, is having these guys be able to come in the box and play linebacker, safety, corner. And we saw a lot of that moving around those guys. And so, I think the positive thing is, should there be injuries, as there always tends to be, he's got guys playing all over the field. So, got guys stepping in and moving over, much like Zeke Berry did last year.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be positioned really well for that.
Yeah, and the freshman I thought looked really good. I think Jordan Young graded out as the highest ranked defender for Michigan on 9 snaps, granted. But also PFF, we kind of talk about PFF a lot on this show. We didn't so much today. I saw their Big Ten quarterback rankings had Nico.
Everybody's going crazy on that one.
3rd or 4th, and look, it's only, grading if he did his job. So if guys drop the ball, I didn't watch that game, but I was just going to say 11-22, 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. He's the 3rd highest graded quarterback in the Big Ten. Kind of crazy to me, PFF. I don't know what we're doing.
You brought it up. I didn't. But as someone that uses PFF a lot and feels like I have to defend it at times because I
go ahead, man. I'm all for
it. I look, because I saw that and I had people ask me like, well, this is useless if he's graded that well. They didn't have a receiver graded in the top 400 in the country. They didn't have a tight end graded in the top 400 in the country. The pass blocking grades of their 2 running backs were the worst in the country, and they didn't have an offensive line graded the top 250 in the country. So PFF's grades tell me that all the struggles that team had and the struggles of his stat line. I didn't watch a second of that game, so I don't know. But the struggles of his stat line were on a lot of other parts of that offense, not his. And so if you were to believe that if he graded out wide receivers really good too and running backs, you just think whoever was assigned the UCLA game for PFF needs to be fired. I think whoever was assigned the UCLA game for PFF assigned responsibility more to everything else in the offense than to Nico, clearly. Don't know if he was right because I didn't watch it.
We're going to get out of here soon. I got one thing to say. I hope that that income coming from NIL to go to UCLA. I hope that's invested. Maybe an S&P 500 index account or something similar. Try to time value of money that thing compared to the NFL. Because Hendon Hooker was a 3rd-round pick coming out of Tennessee. So they could. They could at least get some guys to the draft. So that's going to be interesting. UCLA, that's crazy. I mean, it's not a UCLA podcast, but they kind of finished hot last year, and then it's just kind of got
clapped.
Mollywopped. Yeah.
You always beat me to it. It's like one of my favorite things in the pod the last year, but we can't leave here without talking about one of our favorite guys.
Who are we talking about?
Dominic Zavada, again,
money.
We're so spoiled. We are spoiled. He is just like, I mean, I've been a fan for a long time. NFL, those guys are pretty automatic, but no matter, and we've had great kickers the last 5, 6, 8 years.
Yeah, very lucky.
Still, every time a college kicker's got a kick, you're like, Zavada's like, yeah, he's my guy.
Yeah.
He's
Dom
so
was
good.
2 of 2.
Yeah.
Very glad to have him on our side. We know we're not really in the preview business, Brian, but real quick, what's your thought? Give me your prediction Saturday night, gut feeling.
I mean, Oklahoma struggled, man. They are not the Oklahoma that we all think of. Michigan struggled mightily last year too. I think if you're being pragmatic, we have a bunch of new players, new coordinators, and an 18-year-old kid going to play his first road game at night in the game of the week. It's a great game and a great blue blood matchup, but it's just a weak slate. So this is the game of the week. So conventional wisdom tells you no matter how good Bryce Underwood is, look what Arch Manning did going to Columbus, right? But man, I feel like we held everything back. I think the best of Bryce is yet to come. And then the other thing, you alluded to it earlier, is as good as John Mateer was against whatever Division IV team they played in week 1, if you look at his success, he's fun to watch. Like they're not playing Michigan, he's fun to watch. He's a gunslinger. Kind of reminds me of a really good Tate Forcier, like running around just slinging it. But all his stats have come against bad teams. He struggled against good teams, and Wink's going to bring it. And so the optimist in me, again, conventional wisdom, Oklahoma wins going away, but I feel like Michigan's going to win this one. I do. And me, I've usually been the more conservative of us two in making picks, but I have a good feeling. I just like this team. I like where they're going.
Look, man, I came into this thing and Michigan won national championship my first full year doing being back podcasting with Blue 90. That's all I knew. I didn't know what to
all we do is win, right?
I'm going to be, I'm going to be even less conservative. I'm going to say Michigan wins 31-17, and I'm going to say that they've got like a late pick 6, late scoop and score, a late turnover in Oklahoma territory. That
I said 27-17 last night on something I was in, right?
Yeah.
So we're close.
Could be completely wrong. Could get clipped. We might get clipped, Brian. I don't know, man.
I mean, you see what Texas did when they on Arch, roast bring it like.
Hey. Yeah. Sometimes you outgain a team 360 to 200 and lose by 7. I don't know. You go for it on 4th down 4 times. You don't get any of them.
Yeah.
That's just sometimes that happens.
I'm excited though, man. I'll be locked in.
It's going to be back, isn't it? We got the NFL. We're recording this right before the. I think the NFL game is probably in an hour and a half, and some NFL tonight and tomorrow on Friday. I believe. I think the Chiefs play. Aren't they in Brazil?
Do we have Friday NFL football?
We do, yeah. It's on YouTube, exclusively on the YouTube app. So,
all right, that's great.
Going to be a great weekend of football. 5 days in a row here coming up. I can't wait for action. I want football every night of the week that I can have on in the background. So it's great to be back. Appreciate you guys for listening. I want to say a big thank you to Feldman Chevrolet of Highland, our title sponsor. We will be at the tailgate for the Central Michigan game coming up on September 13th. So week after the Oklahoma game. We will have also Woodson Whiskey, the Maize and Blitz. I'm telling you, Brian, they did mixed drinks, and the bartenders didn't realize that there was just the bourbon and also the Maize and Blitz, which is the cinnamon whiskey. So when I got a whiskey sour, they just threw it in with the cinnamon.
You like your whiskey
that
sour?
Sucker was pretty good, let me tell you. So come check out the tailgate. Thank you so much to our sponsors. You can check us out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Blue by 90 and blueby90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.